Okay. Shout out to Miss Evelyn in the building. Okay.
Hey.
Welcome back to everybody to another episode called The Break Room. Now, Ev, I call this platform I'm running The Break Room because, and I spell it Brake. And the reason why I spell it that way is because I feel like sometimes we move too fast in life and we don't take the time to like stop, pump the brakes, and reflect on life. So I want to have this platform as a way for us to just like connect, reflect, and see what we can come up with as far as answers to questions. All right.
Okay.
So,
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
and I just want to tell people outside who are like, who's this beautiful young lady? I've met you, Evelyn, a few years ago. We are still working together, but we were working together, and you immediately captured my eye because even though you're a young soul, well, you're really young, by the way. We'll get into that too. But even though you're so much younger than me, like 13 years apart, I could see a sense of maturity in you. I could see a sense of depth in you. I feel like this girl's going places, or this young lady, I should say, is going places. In fact, I just saw that you recently posted that you're graduating from Lehman. You're graduating?
Yes. Yes.
All right, we'll get into
Thank
that.
you.
You and Celia. Shout out to Celia, wherever you are. Shout out to Celia.
Bestie.
You two, in particular, y'all caught my eye. I would love to converse with y'all with the little time we had. Y'all showed me like poise. Yeah, showed me humor and levity. Yeah, you got to take yourself too seriously. But at the same time, you can hold your own and hang with the best of them. So I always felt like these people are going places and I should stick my flag to them and make sure I keep them around just in case. So I'm privileged that you're here with me tonight.
Thank you.
I wanted to have you on. I wanted to have you on because through bits and pieces of our friendship and our connection, you little by little, through text and conversation, have let me into vulnerabilities about yourself, about things that you've gone through, things that you're going through. And I've been privileged in receiving those messages because, it takes bravery and courage to be like, yo, I'm going through this, or yo, this is bothering me. And I don't know. I don't even know if you recognize how powerful it is to say out loud, I'm going through this. A lot of people suffer in silence,
Hmm.
but I'm talking too
That's true.
much. So first of all, shout out to you. How you doing this evening?
Thank you. I'm doing well. I'm feeling good. Feeling really good. I'm excited to be here. A little nervous, but it's my first podcast, but I'm excited.
Awesome. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I'm sure you'll do fine. Before we get into the nitty gritty about you and about life, tell me about your accomplishment. Because I saw online you posted recently that you're graduating soon from Lehman. What's been that like going to school and stuff?
Going to school was like it was a journey for me because I had to take a break from school for a little while. Like I was going through a lot of, trying to figure out what do I want to be? Like where do I want to go? Where do I want to end up? And I decided to when I started working in a
Mm-hmm.
school, but I
Mm-hmm.
met Mike. I decided that working with kids is for me, but I don't exactly want to be a teacher. And I thought maybe I could do speech, maybe I could do OT, but I ended up making the decision to do psychology and end up doing behavior therapy.
I didn't know that.
So, yeah, so I am graduating from Lehman with my psych degree with my minor in middle and high school education, just as a backup.
Right, right.
And I'm also working as a behavior technician and in the evenings with a client who has autism. He's 6 years old, amazing kid, love him. And I'm learning, that's my on-hand experience with him. So now I'm
Mm,
going to be applying soon into a behavior master program
mm.
and, start there, continue there. And then I'm going to take my exams to be like a licensed behavior analysis and just start, be creating behavior plans for kids with autism and just helping out as much as I can. That's kind of what I want to focus on.
Wow. Okay, so before I dive in deeper to what you're doing, going through, and your accomplishments, I already recognize two things we have in common. So back in 09, 2010, when you were probably a baby, I I used to in the daytime I was a TA, a teacher's assistant, and in the evenings I was what they call a community rehabilitation something. And what that was is basically what you're doing in after hours. I would work with a child on the spectrum after school. I would take them, to the bowling. I would take them to the movies. I would take them to the gym even, and we would hang out. And shout out to that old job because what they would do is if you took them out, they would like whatever you paid for, they like cover it once
That's nice.
yeah. So like if I took them out to like eat pizza or whatever, they would cover my expenses. And more importantly than that, of course, it was more so getting the experience of learning how to be out in the community with a child who may have behavioral concerns
Mhm.
or whatnot, or on the spectrum. So I can relate to your job after hours with that. And I also can relate to you when you said you took a break from school because I want to say in that's how old I am. And like I graduated high school in '03, and then like '06, so 506, I got my associate's degree. And then I took a little break. And then back in like in '09, 2010, my mom had a brain tumor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks. But she's okay now. She's cussing my ass out every day, curses me out. She's fine now. But what happened was that tumor, people who know me, they know the story. But she had a brain tumor on her frontal lobe. She couldn't work anymore. She's on disability. And she had a big surgery where it could have went bad, but she survived it.
Thank God.
I took time off of school to help her out and to help out my dad with bills and stuff. And once you leave school, it's like leaving the gym. It's hard to get back.
Yes, it is. And that's kind of where I was stuck at. A lot of people, like during that time, I had my god sister living with me and two of my other best friends living with me. So we were all in this room that I'm in now.
Oh
We were
snap.
all four cramped in here. Just like, my best friend was going through a lot. My other best friend was going through a lot, and my god sister. So my grandparents like, hey, if you guys need a place to stay, you guys know where to stay. And we were all here. So imagine a bunch of 18, 19-year-old, women were trying to navigate life fresh out of high school. So I can't say that play a factor with me taking a break because it was just a lot. And I couldn't focus and I was busy trying to like work and trying to balance social life that, I was, academically dismissed from school, which it happened. And also the program that I was in, it required you to be in school every day, which wasn't for me. It was
Mm,
just too much. And I told myself, like, once everybody moved out, I told myself I have to go back to school. Like, I have to go back to school. And it was really, I think, 2021, I went back to school, 2020, and it was online, of course, because of COVID. And I decided to go to BCC, and that's when I was like, oh, I could do this. Like, this is fine. I didn't have so many distractions. I don't blame them at all. I love them. It was just, I was young. I wanted to, I had a little bit of freedom. I wanted to be outside, and
hey yo.
it was a lot going on. But I'm glad that I got back in and I decided not to leave.
I'm glad too. I'm glad too. I want to ask you about sharing a room with three other people. So I'm going to get to that. But before I ask that, real quick, you went back to school during COVID and I graduated my BA finally, 2021.
Congrats.
Thanks, thanks. So let me ask you, because this is a controversial thing. Well, not controversial, but this is the unpopular opinion I have. I don't necessarily mind online courses. I don't mind going to school online, but people be like, "No, I got to be there. I got to be in person going to school." What do you think? Does it matter to you to be in class every day? Or
It didn't matter to me. I loved online classes. I know when I was in person, when I first started at Lehman, I had just moved out and I had like a crazy class schedule. And I was at school 4 days a week in Lehman. The only issue with that was the classes that I was taking. I'm like, man, if I could have took this online, I probably could have passed. Because you get a little bit more help online. But
absolutely,
it was physiology, it was psychology of sensation and perception. Like it was just a lot of learning about the brain and it was hard. Like I'm like, okay, I have to study. Like I can't even try to fake my way through this. Like and my professors were way older, so they were very old school. So we that taught me like, oh wow. Now I see why students love being online because this is hard. I remember crying 2, 3 o'clock in the morning studying, trying to make sure I get everything right. Thank God I passed these classes. But I do not mind online classes. I do feel though when you're in a profession as of in medicine, nursing, you should be taking these classes in person. And I know a lot, me being a Lehman, I know a lot of Lehman built a whole new building for the nurses. So they're there all the time. And their nursing program's like one of the best
right,
in
right.
in the state. So, it makes me feel good knowing that they're going in there and they're learning. Nursing, I shout out to the nurses. I couldn't do it. But
Either.
they have a different type of intelligence that I'm like, wow. But it makes me feel good that they're in there doing the work, instead of just like being online and maybe, you know, chat GBT, you know how that goes. But I do understand online because of, people who are parents. There's a lot of young parents that maybe being online is better for them because it just helps balance out their schooling with their kids.
Right,
So I
right,
also get that as well.
right.
I totally understand that as well.
Speaking of parenthood, listen, shout out to you for not having kids. Listen, take your time, live your life. Do not come on this side of the street, please. Not yet.
I am itching. I do have that urge. I
You do?
do. I heard it's normal. I went one time because I'm 27, so I know it's normal.
maybe
Like my
27.
grandma tells me, my grandma tells me it's normal to feel this way, especially like one of my best friends, she's having a baby. My other best friend, she has a kid. A lot of my friends, my other friend just had twins. Like, and
Mm,
I still sit here shocked, like, oh my gosh, she's having a baby. And my grandma looks at me like, this is the normal age where people are getting married. They're having kids. Like, she's like, I'm
true.
not saying you should do it right away, but she was like, it's just normal to have that urge to want it. But she was like, take your time. Don't force it. Let it come naturally.
Yeah, now let it
And
come
I'm
nat
just like, you're right. You're right.
By the way, sidebar. Speaking of your grandmother, Jesus, she is a beautiful lady. Okay, that's
Yeah, I
all
love
I'll
my
say.
grandma.
She's a good because you always post stuff about her and whatever. I'm like, that's cool. You have a good. I can tell you have a good connection with them, your
Yes.
grandparents. But no, I mean your grandmother is right. That this is the typical age, I guess, to have kids, late 20s. But we are seeing a new phenomenon, and I have the older age to have a point of reference for this when I was coming up, like maybe 10, 15 years earlier than your age now, like in high school and middle school, people were having kids like just like random and rampant. Where now there's studies being shown that like teenage pregnancy is way down, people having kids in their 20s is way down.
Hmm.
People are having kids older and older, and there has to be a few reasons why. I would imagine one, finances. We're New Yorkers, so it's too damn expensive.
Expensive over here. Yeah.
And then another reason why, and I wonder how you feel about this. It seems like, well, there's a few reasons why I would say. So there's what I said, there's also a generation, maybe your grandmother could relate to this. A women back in the day, 50, 70, 80 years ago, they were pressured to have kids. They were pressured to be in a marriage. Maybe the world and finances back then didn't allow women to be independent on their own yet. It's a man's world,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So there's that aspect societally. But I also think, and I wonder how you feel about this, there is another component of like I'm seeing now, and I wonder how you feel. I'm seeing now, as we get younger and younger, there's like a disconnect in dating where like I'm hearing from women from your age group, mine too, but your age group of like there's a disconnect of like dating and maybe men not being the best ideal mates right now. Talk to me about that. I mean, I know you're in a relationship right now, but talk to me
Hmm.
in general about what you're seeing in the dating scene and in general.
Yeah. But I'm saying in general, there is a disconnect. There's a lack of emotional intelligence.
Mm,
And they do say that women do mature emotionally, more than men. And I do see that. Like a lot of people want to, like I find it hard that men this generation is hard to express themselves and what they want clearly. Like and also it's also the sense of that always that conversation of, oh, I want a provider and this guy's not providing. And with that I kind of have like mixed feelings about that because it's like a guy my age doing the same thing that I do, you know, how am I expect him to provide if we're still here, you know? He's not you have to build with someone. I totally agree. And then there's a lot of women that want a guy that already has everything. And sometimes it's not like that. Women usually do get that. It's rare now. And I also, from what I see, is that, yeah, from my beginning point was people just don't want to express themselves. People just want to hide things. They think like, I shouldn't be chasing after her. Like, I'm not doing that. I look thirsty. Like they say things like
and a
that.
lot,
And
yeah.
and it's just why? If you like someone, go get them. Show them that you want them. And that's just like a big thing nowadays. And social media plays a big part too. Like everybody wants to put on a show for social media. And if my relationship doesn't look like this, I don't want it. Or they never want to authentically meet someone. It's always has to you always have they always have to compare. And
Compare.
they always want to compare. And then just the same topics of, yeah, I want a girlfriend, but I want her to be traditional. Oh, yeah, I want a boyfriend because I want them to be a provider. Like it's just these same exhausting conversations that I hear all the time. And it's just like, why can't we just, do
Be
what
in the
works for us
right
or be in the moment?
in the moment.
So
Yeah,
it's
you sound like someone who's saying that people are either overthinking it, they're overthinking it, or they're not in touch with their feelings as they should be.
yeah,
And to both of those, if that is true, to both of those, I have to agree. From what I'm seeing, listen, I'm an old school dude, so like I be hearing like men call women bros. Ah, bro, and I'm like, ugh, don't call her bro. Like, especially if you're trying to if you're trying to get with her or be with her, like
right.
like I think there's a sense of romanticism that's been lost. That's what I see.
Chivalry is dead too.
Yeah, chivalry is it seems dead. The other day I was talking to some people at work, and it was a mixed crowd. It was some old, some young, mostly young. And I was telling them how like my mom was cleaning up my old closet the other day, and I found mad old love letters. Like, yeah, like old love letter. And back in the day, in high school and middle school, I would, you write letters. I go to my locker, I see a letter waiting for me, and oh, okay, whatever. And that was a way to
Love
communicate,
that.
right? And then the Aaliyah song came up, 4-page letter, and I was like, yeah, we used to write 4-page, 5-page letters front to back.
Yes.
And then the young people, some of them, the young people, they were like, "No, we don't do that. We don't do that." And I was like, "Oh, I can see why y'all don't emote as well or as much." And it's
Mm-mm.
and I do think that, like you mentioned, there are guys out there in particular who are too cool for school, where it's like, you gotta chase me, and I ain't chasing no girl.
You
I
gotta
ain't
buy me flowers. I'm like,
heard that. I've heard like I want to be the passenger, or I want to be driven, or I want to. And mind you, my instincts as a man kick in. Like, no, if I take a lady out, I'm courting her, so I want to make sure she's protected. If we're walking down the street, I'm on the side close to the street. You know what I'm saying? If there's a puddle, I make sure she don't walk over it. Like, there's just survival instincts are gonna kick in for me because I'm letting her know right now you are my world. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But it seems like there's a pride that's kicked in, and on all sides, not just men, on all sides, where it's like I have my stance, I am who I am, and deal with it. And I wonder, where's that coming from? Is that coming from home? Where do you think that's coming from? This.
It could start from home. It could start from home because I've dated guys that they're big mama's boys and their mom coddle them too much and they feel like, since my mom treats me this way, you're supposed to treat me this way. And it's not like that. And it's not their fault. They lack that father figure in their life. And it's also, I want to say also like just what they see online as well with, these pop the balloon videos, these other podcasts that just, and I'm not saying, you shouldn't make your man feel wanted or feel loved, but there are other ways. You know what I mean? And it's differently than with women. If you ask me out on a date and you bring me flowers, that's super sweet. Maybe, I follow this relationship therapist on TikTok and he gives great advice. And he has a PhD in this and he says, like women on the first date, if he brings you flowers, the next day, bring him like a little sentimental gift that you think he'll like.
Right,
But
right,
nothing too expensive, nothing that breaks the bank, but a sentimental gift just to show that you are also interested in him as well. Like he gives really good, like, wow, like I've never thought of it that way. But it's different. It's not the same. Like I hate to say that. A lot of people like to say, men and women are the same. We're not the same. So it's just different. And I
right,
feel like yeah, at home, their moms just coddle them too much, give them everything and also just what they see on social media and what they hear.
right, right. I agree, and I'm glad you brought up the pop the balloon phenomenon. Yo,
Even though I do watch that show, I do watch it. I laugh every
no,
time.
no, 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 no. It's hilarious. So whenever I catch a clip of it, like I like watching the clips where like somebody walks in and everybody just pops the balloon at once.
I swear, if I'm ever in there and everybody pauses the remote, I'm going home. There's nothing to
And
discuss.
it's like, all right, you guys got it. I'm out.
Yeah,
And usually when I see that instance where they all pop the balloon, it's probably because of parents. Now, don't get me wrong. I saw one cat like he came through like just looking bummy, and or he was looking weird. His outfit was weird, and I'm like, yo, presentation matters. How you
it's
present.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it could tell someone what you think about yourself. So he should have had a better outfit. It was just a loud, different colors. It was weird outfit, and all of them were like, "What?" So I'm not mad at that, but I do sometimes feel bad when like a guy pops up and he's very short or he got a baldy or something, and when we're like, "Nope, nope, thank you." But at the same token, that's a human thing because you listen. I grew up as a man in the locker room. Was what I call it. The boys' locker room. I would grow up hearing men or boys at the time to say the weirdest, degrading, like just stupid stuff about girls just because they thought they could say it, and it'd be so like boyish and minimal. Like it's like you don't even know her. What if she's like an awesome person on the inside, but you don't even know her because you're writing her off because how you perceive her to be now. Mind you, when we get older, she's gonna fill out and it's gonna be you're gonna be missing
right,
missing out.
right.
Fuck out of here. I think we have this issue where like just arguing over trivial little things. and picking apart little things, and we don't give each other enough grace to get to know each other. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So when I look at the dating scene today, and listen, I'm glad I'm out of it. I'm a married man. I've been married for 13 years now. Yes, I'm out the game, thank God. But I say to myself, yo, I don't ever want to go back outside because the pool seems tainted.
It has pee in it. The
It has
pool has pee in it.
the pool
Let's say
has
that.
pee in it.
The
That might be
pool
the name of the
has pee in
episode.
it.
The pool has pee in it episode. Yeah. The pool has pee in it. So I'm happy for you that you're with somebody and that you
Yeah.
are, home and not outside because, I know what it's like to find somebody, how hard it is to find somebody. What I will say though, before I let you go off, is I don't like the other day Cameron said something. He was like, you know, I don't holler at chicks, I let chicks holler at me. And then Kevin Gates said something similar. Here's what I'll say to that. When I was getting ready to meet my wife and like really get to know her, we were talking online at first. I met her on Twitter. What I did was, and this is what I always did back in the day when I was single, I would give someone my number, especially a woman, of course, the only woman. I would give a woman my number and then if she wanted to, she could reach out to me. And what I mean by that is I feel like women get hounded all day long with guys. Like, let me holler at you, let me holler at you, let me holler at you. Really get hounded. So I felt like, you know what? You get bothered so much. Let me give you my number. And if you find something in me, then you can reach out to me. You know what I'm saying? If not, I don't take it personal. And so she reached out. So that's how it worked for me. Do you feel like when you were single, guys would had a hard time reaching out to you, or were they hounding you?
Hounding,
They were.
definitely. Not to sound like that, but it was definitely I've definitely had men who come on too strong
Mm.
and too lustful also in the beginning. I don't like that. I feel uncomfortable because they already have like this perception of me that I'm just, gonna be with whatever they want me to be with, and that's just not me at all.
What gives them that?
I guess it's just me being curvy, and I'm also very friendly. So a lot of people mistake me being very friendly as flirty, and I've
Mm,
I've gotten that a lot, and I could see why they would say that. But I'm very upfront, so I would tell you if I like you. So it's just it's not always like that, and so they just assume that because I have curves and I'm very like bottom heavy, like they like, oh yeah, this is what's up, girl? Let me, or if they see me outside, they think like, oh yeah, like, this girl, I could get her easy, and it's not like that at all.
their intrusive thoughts just come out.
Yeah, yeah, and then I have met really other pretty good guys that approached me very respectfully, and like they would give me their number, and I would text them like, hey, what's up, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Right.
You know?
Thankful that I'm a dude, I'm a man because there's privilege being a man where I don't get I didn't have to see as much of that too forward, lustful. I'm not saying I would enjoy some of it, but in other words, I've heard women tell me like, yo, some of these guys, they don't have no game or no game's a bad word. They don't have any tact. It's just straight lusty text, lust pictures maybe out the blue or
Yeah. Oh my
or
God.
just lust like or just bad words being said to them like, yo, let me get in there. Like, I'm like, what? And the cat calling, you know what I'm saying? And I'd be like, yo, I don't know how women deal with that. I don't know how y'all deal with that. I mean, I'd be repulsed, like, come on, man.
Yeah, especially online, I used to get random pictures in my DMs or like just the craziest messages. I'll just hit block because I'm not gonna entertain it. Especially also like outside. Like I remember I went to a party. It was a yacht petite party. It was a Caribbean party on a yacht. And we're having a blast, we're having a good time. And like this guy comes and just smacks my ass. And I was just
What?
and I'm usually quick to react to things, but I was just so shocked that this guy had like the balls to do this. And I'm just there, my best friend, my
Yo,
ex-best friend, I still love her. Shout out to you guys, still love you, even though we don't speak anymore. She like punched him in the face. Like she reacted quicker than I did because she was like, I was in shock, but I saw you not reacting, so I knew you must have felt so like violated to not even
wow.
like react. And it turned into like a big thing, and we all ended up getting kicked out, including him. And it was just
That's a
shocking how,
violation.
yeah, like, and he's like, "Oh, we're in a Caribbean party. What do you expect?" I'm like, "I've been to a bunch of Caribbean parties. Do not blame this on your
Yeah,
people, please. On my people, don't do that
of
because
course.
we're very respectful. Right? My family's Caribbean, and no
Of
man,
course.
no man in my family would do that. Like, it was just like a big thing. Like, so for a while, that really, now that I realized, that really hurt me for a while. Like, I didn't want to go outside after that for a while because
I
I
can
felt
imagine.
so uncomfortable. And I wasn't wearing, they always say, "Oh, well, what were you wearing?" That still doesn't matter. Like I was wearing a regular dress. It wasn't even a short dress. It was a summer dress.
Mhm.
It was the summer, Everybody's dressed out, skin is out. There's no reason why you should feel like you're obligated to touch me? So it was my first time ever experiencing something like that. And
Yo,
to say the least, it was traumatizing. Yeah.
how young were you?
I was at this time, I
Yeah.
remember I had red hair. I was maybe 20, 22, 23.
Man, first of all, I want to apologize on behalf of dudes for that, on behalf of men. I'm sorry. That
Thank
is,
you.
I could visualize it when you said that. Like, a lot of times, like I have like guy friends who like complain about like a bad stink on us as far as men being dogs or men being assholes. I'm like, yo, it's shit like that we got to fight against because we got to check our people more, check our dudes more because yo, that is a straight
Hmm.
violation. That's straight
Yeah.
disrespect. That's harassment on another level.
Hmm.
And yo, like those are that's a fight. That's some fight shit. Like if you touch me in any way
Yeah.
like that, we gotta fight. We gotta
And
have it out.
I remember like we're on the train on our way home, and like my best friend's like, "I'm surprised you like." I told her I was just I've never been in a situation like that, so I've heard about situations like that, and I'm like, "Oh wow, like if I was in that situation, I would do this," but we don't know until we experience it. And I was just there stuck, like,
Yeah, you're in shock.
is it like, yeah, I was just like, wow. And thank God for my best friend. She's my ex best friend. She's still, I love her because she always defends her friends. So,
Right, right.
she definitely stepped up that day. But it was overwhelming to say the least. I did
Yeah.
not go outside for maybe like 2 more weeks after that. Like I had just had to stay home and just process all of that?
I can see you now, like and the reflection of it, just like having to take a second to, go
Yeah,
back
to go back
and
to that. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm sorry that you went through that. That's crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had no words for shit like that, like and I know I'm not perfect, like, I'm sure in the past, in my adolescence, I wasn't the most gentle, but, you don't violate people's privacy, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like once you do something like that, you are on, like, a pendulum or spectrum of, like, you might do some other crazy shit on the low, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
100%.
Or you might be a true harasser or violator on a criminal level, so people like that need to sit down, go to jail for a day. Like sit the
Yeah.
fuck down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's assault.
Yeah.
You say ex best friend. So let me ask you a question. Not to get in your business, but how do you grieve a failed friendship or a lost friendship? How do you grapple with that?
I'm now this situation happened 2 years ago. I'm now getting over it because it did hurt me a lot, especially because I see her at work all the time too. She works at my job. But how I grieve it is I try not to have no hate in my heart against them. I try not to think of the bad things. I try to always think of the good memories that we've had and how we helped each other, how we always been there for each other. And that's why people look at me crazy. Like when I say, "Oh, when they ask me what happened," I'd be like, "No, listen, things just don't work out. I still love her. I still wish her all the best. Even when she was accomplishing certain things, and I will see it online because we still have each other on social media. I would still write her and say, "Hey, like I saw that you accomplished this. Shout out to you. I'm still rooting for you." And this has been my best friend since third grade. So, I
Oh,
have like a very close thing with her. But like people just grow apart. People don't see eye to eye sometimes. And like to even put out there, like, I mean, it's my business. It doesn't matter. But like we've always had arguments and I've always been the one to reach out and apologize. And this time she hurt me. And like I gave her a year to apologize. I was waiting for her to reach out and be like, "Hey, like I'm sorry. I knew I was wrong." And like she just never came around. And I remember when that year was coming up, when the whole situation went down, like I was just here like, is she gonna write me? What's gonna happen? Because I was telling myself mentally, I'm gonna let this go. I'm not gonna be mad about it anymore. I'm not gonna be sad about it. Like, but I hope she does reach out to me. And I remember my boyfriend telling me, like, shout out to him because he was like, you just need to let her go.
mm,
Just let it go. And he was like, if we need, I remember I had a night where I just literally when that situation when it became a year when it hit that night, I was just crying and that made me let her go. And now,
wow.
I see her work, I say good morning. Yeah, people usually bring it up, but I just choose not to partake in the conversation anymore. Like
Right, right,
it's
right,
dead, it's gone. But I just try to not have that hate in me. Just know that not everybody's meant to be in each other's life forever,
right.
and that's okay.
They say some people in your life are seasons, so
Yeah.
and I think you have a very mature approach to still wish her well and to root for her in spirit. Similar instances. Like I have an 18-year-old daughter and it's her first year in college. So I watched her go through the last 4 years of going through high school and saying goodbye to certain friends and whatnot. And I would tell her, like, yo, all these people that are in your life today that are the world to you, they won't be the world in 10, 15, 20 years. Trust me. Shout out to Christian, shout out to Terrell, shout out to so many people in my life who I grew up with just every day side by side. My mom would feed. I don't know where they're at right now in the world. You know what I'm saying? Not really, but I hope they're happy and I wish them well. But like you said, some people drift apart. Obviously, you've probably been asked this a million times. So I'm just gonna ask it just to ask it. It's not fixable.
It's not. Like
You don't have to go into it if you don't want to, but I'm just saying, like,
no,
I had to
no.
ask that. It's not fixable.
I have to ask myself that, but I was really hurt that day, like that night when the whole situation went down, and I just couldn't. And I'm usually one that's very forgiving. Like everybody could say that. I'm like, Evelyn's very forgiving. She doesn't hold no hate in her heart, and I couldn't.
Hey, no,
I
no.
needed to hear. I needed to hear her apology for that. But
I get it. You got a point of no return as far as what you needed to heal with
yeah,
her.
and like I'm learning how to set boundaries, and I'm learning how to not be a people pleaser. I've been doing that work for the past 2 years with myself, so I've learned to like no, like I have to stand on business this time.
People pleaser. Keep that phrase in mind because that's an important phrase when we get to body positivity.
Okay.
People pleasing. Yeah, you did the Lord's work by, waiting it out, trying to see if she can come around. You gave her grace, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And you still have that love for her, so I respect that. I've been in a situation where, like, I was waiting on someone to come around himself, and I had to realize, okay, I may not be better than him in life. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. Let me humble myself. But there may be some things I'm better at, and vice versa. So I may be better at him as far as coming to terms with certain things, putting my hat in my hand and apologizing, having empathy. And those are my quote unquote skill sets. Where he may have other skill sets that I may have lacked in. You know what I'm saying? That's why we work together at certain times. But for some reason, where we're at now, the impasse that we're at, we can't come to terms. But I know he's a good person through and through. He still has a good heart, and I'm wishing him well, and vice versa. And it's no beef. So it sounds like you're in that same space. You know what I'm saying? And I commend you for that. And shout out to your boyfriend for giving
Thank you.
that. Shout out to your boyfriend for giving that sound advice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That good counsel. That was very mature of him. And sometimes you need somebody to be like, yo, it ain't gonna work. You need somebody by your side to be like, it ain't gonna
He
work.
is definitely that person.
Like,
Definitely
yo,
that person.
because if you leave it up to us, especially people pleasers, we will give someone grace after grace after grace and chance after chance.
Yeah.
Because we want to be loved and we want to express love and we want that connection. Can we talk about body positivity?
Sure. Get
Okay.
into it.
All right. Let me start off with myself. As you know, I'm a big dude. And let me just say that even though I'm a big guy, I wasn't always this big. So, like, I grew up very athletic. I played sports, recreationally. I would be outside all day long playing. By the way, Ed, I'm 13 years older than you. So I'm from a generation where, get this, we went outside and played all day long. All right. Like,
Listen, I've been outside playing too. I was
okay,
outside playing too.
I'm just joking. Because earlier you told me, I thought we were 12 years apart. Because you're March, right? You're March,
Yeah.
Pisces, right?
Yes.
Shout out to Pisces. My wife's a Pisces. Pisces. Yeah. What day are you? March what?
March 3rd. March
March
3rd.
3rd. So you early. Okay. She's March 20th. So I thought you were 97, but so earlier you texted me like, no, I'm 98. I'm like 98.
Yeah.
Dude, I was throwing rocks at the windows of my bike playing ball in 98. Like, I could have babysat you. You know what I'm saying? I was playing Beanie Man on the radio and riding around on the scooters. Um, but I said to say, when I was growing up, I ate a lot. I love food. I love food. And I was a big person growing up, but I always gave off a slim look because even though I was chubby, I was always just like outside. Like once you hit 30 or 27, 28, that metabolism, boy, or even your mid 20s, that shit slows the hell down.
Uh-huh.
Now, mind you, I got an aunt who's like, who ate more than all of us, but she's always skinny because I don't know, her metabolism's great. So I'm like this bitch. But she come in the house and go to the fridge and eat all the. I'm like, yo, you don't gain no weight, huh? No weight.
Not
It's bullshit. I being a big person all my life, I knew to people please. So I knew for me, like whether it was through appeasing the people, doing favors I don't have no business doing, making people feel extra comfortable around me, being that friend to lean on so they can go "Da, da, 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 da," and then later on I do my own problems by myself. But in the daytime I'm helping out with your problems. I was that person for the most part. I still kind of had some self-confidence in myself. Like I knew that I'm a dope person. I knew that. I was like, I'm a cool person. But I also knew some people around me, they don't know that I'm cool yet. So if I just hang around long enough and they understand me and my spirit and my soul, they'll understand who I am. So I knew I could be a people pleaser. So I had to say this. I remember a few years ago, me and you were talking, and you kind of revealed to me how like you had some, how would I say, was it body dys what's the phrase you would use?
Body dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia. And this is my ignorance coming to play because maybe I heard the phrase once or twice before, but I never gave it much thought. So when you told me that you had body dysmorphia, I had to really like, well, let me tap into that and really figure it out and learn about it. And I thank you first of all to for revealing that to me that you had that and you were going through that. Can you tell me what it's like for you, a young woman, a young lad woman, a woman of color, a black woman, 40? Can you tell me what it's like growing up as a plus size woman, a big girl, and what you and all that you went through?
So, I've always been a chunky girl since a baby.
By the way, you
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was a lot of my grandma always, my grandma, I think she's the greatest cook in the world. She cooks really good. So,
mm,
I will bring you her food one day because you're gonna be
mm,
like, wow.
arroz con
But
pollo.
yeah, like, and it was always like it was like okay, like I put it like this because my boyfriend makes this joke, like, did you enjoy your childhood? Because I'd be like, everybody in my table at school lunch, elementary school, they're eating Oreos and I'm eating like Oreo thin or sugar free or like my grandma put me in a faja when I was like 8 years old. You know what I mean? So it's like traumatizing that I had to be so uncomfortable because it was always like I was getting too chunky, and not that she would never deprive. I don't want to blame her because she would never deprive me of things I like to eat, but it was always like, listen, you can't eat this all the time. Listen, it's like she knew already, and but what helped me a lot was me being a dancer. Like I was thrown into a dance program when I was 5 years old, and I've been dancing ever since. I'm a professional salsa dancer, so
Mm,
I've been doing that for a long time. Not anymore, but I did it, from I was 5 till I was the age of 18. And that kind of helped me a little bit because it helped me stay in shape. It helped me always, you know, just stay active. I've also played sports in high school, nothing serious, but I would always participate. But I always had that thing in the back of my head was I have to prove everybody that I'm able to do this just because I'm this size, but I could do this.
right,
So that
right.
was when like the trying to satisfy everybody was like kind of like embedded in my head already. Like people always had when they look at me like, oh, she's not capable of doing that. Like, how can she do that? And I will do it. And they'll be like, oh wow. And then now I have a friend because I could do this. Like, it was like weird things like that that I'll have in the back of my head. Also, family parties, not they always make comments. Oh, you gotta slow down a little bit, or, when you're looking at all your cousins and you're the only one there that's, bigger than all of them, it's like kind of like I also have another cousin that she's also thick as well, but her thick was she had no stomach, but she was also very like just had thighs,
Curvaceous,
so it's like
curvaceous.
she was very curvy, but that's still, they would never really get at her as much, but because I had like a little tummy, it was just like a oh, also, just like developing early, my grandparents were very overprotective with me as well as my parents because they didn't want no men looking at me or, thank God they shielded me from that, so it was a lot of ups and downs because all of my friends were thinner than me, smaller than me, and I always wanted to like wear what they was wearing, but I couldn't fit it. Like I remember in middle school, I wanted to wear, like Hollister jeans and Aeropostale jeans, and I couldn't fit into that. At that time, they didn't have no extended sizes like they do now,
Right, right.
I know in high school, like True Religion, I had like one pair. And I was like, as I got older, I couldn't even fit that no more. Maybe like 3 months later, I couldn't wear it anymore. So I would feel very insecure because I'm like, why can't I just, wear what everybody else is wearing? And that took a toll a lot on my mental health and how I view things. But, my grandma always taught me to walk with confidence, always walk into a room with your head up high. And oh, my grandma, I know this sounds kind of like but my grandma would be like, always walk like I'm gonna say it in my words, like you're the baddest in the room regardless.
Mm,
And I think that's why, like, especially the friends I have now and the people I have in my life, why they gravitated towards me because, people say like I just shine when I walk in,
You do.
and they don't see anything else but just me. They don't see the physical. So that kind of helped me a lot. As I got older though, after college, I've gotten to my first like real relationship after college. You're eating all the time, you're happy, keep gaining weight and gaining weight, and it's just like, next thing you know, you go through a breakup, you're like, I was like, what happened to me? I still felt like, oh, I'm still pretty, but I still don't feel comfortable. And that's when like the type of men that would approach me, like, if I rejected them, they'll look at me like, well, you shouldn't be rejecting me because look how you look. And I'll be
Wow.
like, so I can't have standards? Like, I
Wow.
can't, so that kind of played a lot in my head too. Like, I will settle for certain things because I'll just sit there and be like, well, like, this guy does love me for me, so maybe I shouldn't complain so much. But I had to get out of that mindset quickly
Absolutely.
because, you can't just settle and not be happy. So, like recently, it's not no secret. I had got weight loss surgery in we're in 2025, August 2023.
Mm.
And I remember somebody who came up to me, they had the surgery too, and they were like, well, it doesn't work for everybody,
What the
and you're doing it for vanity purposes. You know who this person is too, but we'll discuss that off camera. But
Interesting. I wonder who the
but
fuck that is. Whoever
like
that
I
is,
just like that.
you're an asshole.
Yeah, like so I was just like, wow, like it wasn't even for vanity purposes. It was like I've been on every diet. I went back into dancing and working out all the time, and I've only lost 50 pounds on my own. And I'm like, something's wrong here. There's something with my hormone levels. There has to be something. And I got a full workup done, and I had a thyroid issue. My hormones were all over the place. And my doctor was like, that's why you're struggling to lose weight. So he was like, I could give you a referral to get weight loss surgery. And he gave me the pros and cons of it. My grandma got that surgery in the past too. My mom got it after I did. Also had a cousin who did it as well. So, I had some knowledge on it. I just do like this is just a tool. It's not an easy fix. And I try to explain that to people. It's not the easy way out, trust me,
No, no, no.
because it's still a struggle after because your relationship with food has to change a lot.
Mm.
And I've lost so far 160 pounds. I'm kind of in a plateau, but
Wow.
I'm comfortable. I'm not thin. I'm still,
Wow.
thick. I'm
160,
still
huh?
curvy. Yeah,
Wow.
160. And I feel good. I feel great, but I still have, like we were discussing, body dysmorphia. So I will have this thing where I still feel that I'm bigger than what I am, or I still feel very insecure with how things fit me. And like people look at me like, you shouldn't feel that way. You still look so good. And it's just in my mind, I still have that bully in the back of my head, like, no, you need to lose more. You need to lose more. And that kind of like it took a toll on me for a while, especially during the summer. It took a big toll on me. And my boyfriend could tell you because I met my boyfriend before surgery. And he still feels the same with me how he felt about me before till now.
I'm sure he
And he
does.
tried, yeah, and I know he tries to tell me like, don't beat yourself up if your weight is not moving. You still look good. Still eat the things you like. Don't deprive yourself. Like he's always there telling me to do that. My grandma too. Shout out to them. But I will have those moments, and I want to be in my room and just not eat for the whole day because I feel like, oh no, like I don't look right. I don't look right. And I had to really start tapping into myself and into mindfulness and try to give myself some grace
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
And I started looking up like ways that I could do this without going to therapy. And I started meditating more. And I started like, I listened to like high frequency sounds and just close my eyes for a little bit and just let my mind drift off and just relax. And I tell
Wow.
myself I'm gonna have a good day and we're gonna eat good today and don't deprive yourself and don't step on the scale so much. So like I hide my scale, I hide all of that. I try like, I started wearing things that I wouldn't wear before just so I could get myself into that mode of feeling good and feeling positive again. So, lately I've been feeling better now and I'm just taking it one step at a time, like I guess all your life when you've been a bigger person, you're always gonna have that issue about your weight. Like it's never gonna go away. It's never gonna go
Uh,
away.
who are you
But
kidding?
we have to make it our business to let that be like the main plot of our
Right.
lives.
Right.
So
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing all that. That's very brave of you to share all of your emotions and what you've been through as a big girl. And like I said, it has to be harder for women to go through it. What I will say, period, for anybody who's out there right now listening who's slim or fit, I want you to know that I'm sure y'all all go through your own issues.
For sure.
But I don't know if y'all realize how much big people get written off. You know, socially, sometimes romantically, like you heard Ev say about, oh, what do you mean you should be dating me or whatever? Like you should be grateful. You know, you hear comments like that all the time, or if not direct comments, you'll hear an inference of how maybe you're less than because you're big. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and I try to. I've had these conversations with my friends because I have friends who are slimmer than me, and they have their own insecurities as well, and that's fine. You know, like we all have our insecurities, but what my friends do understand is that they meet society standards of beauty. You know, my friends, they totally understand that, so they understand how it is for me.
Usually
You know?
It's a European centric, maybe sometimes standard as
Yeah.
well. But go ahead.
Yeah, even though not the standard, the beauty is having a BBL, and which there's nothing wrong with BBLs. You know, I have friends who have BBLs and they look good as hell. But you know, like it's yeah. So like my friends, like they understand that, and they understand that like I can't minimize. I can't sit here and say I relate to her because I can't. I've never had nobody speak to me that way. I never have somebody write me off that way. Like when I watch these pop the balloon videos and I see like the thicker woman come out and it's just pop, 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 and it's because because you're not petite, and it's okay to have a preference. I never said you cannot have a preference because you are attracted to what you're attracted to. But like get to know a person though.
I
Get to
hear
know a
you.
person before you see past the physical. Like, and that's how I've always been. I've always saw past physical when it came to men with my dating life. So, yeah.
Can I ask you a funny question?
What what's up?
My boy Jeff, shout out to Jeff. He gonna laugh when I say this. Who do you think has it worse, a big girl or a short dude?
My God. A short dude for sure. A short dude for sure.
Yo,
A short dude for sure.
I'm joking, but what I will say is, yo, a lot of times, ladies, y'all give short dudes very little play.
And maybe I am one of those girls because I cannot date nobody that's shorter than me either. Maybe my height and then taller, but yeah, because I have one of my best friends, he's short and he gets the ladies, but sometimes they miss him because, it's just you don't meet the height requirement. He's like, damn, like, okay, you know?
like if you knew me 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, like I had a lot of curly hair. My hair is very curly, or it was. Rest in peace. But so when my hair left me, I was like, damn, God, that's how you gonna do me? All right. What did I do? Maybe I was 12 years old, I said the wrong thing. I don't know. Damn, I don't deserve this. But when I lost my hair, I was like, damn, this is whack. But at least I'm still 6'1", 6'2", because because
You know,
I know people out there who are like bald and short. I'm like, okay, you got it bad. Like God did not mess with
I
me.
remember, I remember I dated a guy, a bald dude, and I thought to myself, like, what am I doing? Like, this is too mature for me. Like, but he was a great dude.
It's too much
And
short.
I remember, I remember I brought him up with my friends, and they were like, Evelyn, like you're 21, and I'm just like, I'm just trying something new. He was a really nice guy, truly really nice guy. We just couldn't. There was something, especially he was 10 years older than me, so we had a big
Oh
age
yeah,
difference.
yeah, yeah.
And I was 21, and I just wanted to live my life, so that's why we couldn't work.
Sure, I'm dying.
Yeah, like
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
they were, but he was a great dude. But I'm like, okay, I
You're
tried.
too young for
That's the thing
this.
about me. Yeah, like that's the thing about me. Like I said, like I choose to see past physical. I have my little people have the little things that they want in their partner, and I feel like I got that now because I feel like I manifested my boyfriend. Because I remember when I was done with my last talking stage, I was just over dating, and I
Mhm.
told my friends in the living room, I'm like, mark my words, my next boyfriend has to be tall, skinny, dreads and a nice smile. And he needs to be a New York man. And that's it. That's all I asked for. And a month later, I met my boyfriend and I was like, oh, wow.
It's
I
funny.
manifested this.
You definitely manifested it, and it's funny you say a New York man because I had someone else, a friend of mine. She told me that she needs a New York man or New York style man. What is it about a New York man that you value?
Just the style, how they all New York men have different styles. But when you see a man dressed up and he's from New York, you just know he's from New York, no matter what they're wearing. And they don't all wear the same thing. And it's just the personality, like, my cousins that live in Florida, they're friends. Like they look at me and they meet me, and I'm a very sociable person and I make jokes all the time. They think I'm aggressive, but not in a bad way. But they say that I'm aggressive. So I'm like, you think I'm aggressive for real? Like maybe it's just he was like, no, all New York women are aggressive. And I'm like, well, if you lived in New York all your life, you will understand why we are the way we are.
Right,
But
right.
because, we're fighting for our lives every day here.
Tell me about it.
But, it's just they just get us. They get it. And just the style, how they carry themselves. And it's like a thing that New York men have that,
That
I feel
aura.
like that's just that, yeah, like that energy that they present, and they're so prideful. And maybe because I have New York men in my family. A bunch of my best friends are New York men. Like I just needed that. Like I needed somebody to understand me, and that wouldn't minimize me either. I could just be who I am. And if I am like a little too much, or if I am being a little, they will talk to me about it and not like, what's the word? Belittle me about it or like prosecute me about it. You know what I mean? So,
Can I ask you, well, before I ask you the people pleaser comment, let me ask you about men in general and really your boyfriend.
hmm
You manifested a man that you wanted, tall, dreads, New York. Being a Puerto Rican woman, a young lady, a Latin woman, do you think there's a disconnect or not disconnect? I don't want to lead you on. Is there a difference between dating someone who's Latin versus non-Latin? Because what I mean by that is, I think I'm assuming, my bad, I'm assuming your boyfriend is just he's not Latino.
he's Dominican.
But he's
A lot of
Dominican.
people think, yes, a
He's
lot of
Dominican.
people get shocked
But
with that. Yes.
all right, but okay, so he's Dominican, but he's Afro Latin. He's black.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, I'm glad he's
A
Dominican.
lot of people have that same reaction with him. A
No, no,
lot of
but
people,
that's
yes.
that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's even better. You want to know why? Because but he's black and he's blackity black from what I saw. Shout out to him. But what I mean by that is there a difference between dating a Latin man who's black and assumes his blackness versus someone who's just everyday Latino, but maybe not dreaded up or black?
Yes, there's a
I've seen
big
varying
difference.
styles, but go ahead.
Yeah, so like I could say like my ex before my boyfriend, he was from Ghana, and there was a big difference. My grandparents were they're very accepting, so that was never an issue. But there was a big like, especially difference with food and everything else. But just like traditionally, it was different, and everybody has their cultures, their different traditions. So with my ex was everything he said went because he was paying for everything. He provided. So that was kind of like the issue in our relationship.
Control,
And
maybe?
yeah, a little bit controlling. And then it was going into like cheating. So you shouldn't be mad that I'm cheating on you because I'm providing you with everything you need. And that was like my exit. I was like, yeah, no, I can't keep doing this because one of us is going to be in jail. And, I'm a little crazy. I'm a little cuckoo sometimes. So I like to say that, I've recovered. I'm a recover, with that word crash out, but I
Right.
do have a history of crashing out. And like with him, like I've crashed out a lot in that relationship that I lost myself and I couldn't do it no more. So I had to leave because I'm like, yeah, no. That doesn't mean I wrote off like,
No.
men from Ghana or wrote off black men in general. It's just with him specifically, I can't do that anymore. So, my boyfriend now, him being an Afro Latino, like what I like about him is that he knows that he's Afro Latino. He knows he's a black man, and in a lot of Dominican families, like they don't recognize that they're black. And I have a lot of friends whose families don't recognize that. And
Not just
his
Dominicans,
Puerto Ricans too, Puerto Ricans as well.
West Indian, Caribbean people, like
Yeah,
people in
yeah,
general. Yeah.
yeah. I have a lot of family members who voted for this president now. So it's shocking to say the least. So it's like I like that because that way when I think of like future wise, when we have our kids and our kids have all these cultural features that makes them stand out or different, like we could teach that this is still beautiful. This is you still are accepted. You don't need to minimize yourself for anybody. And that's what I really appreciate for him. And also like, sidebar, me and him laugh about this because we tell each other, we're not each other's type at all. At all. Like from what approached me, black men always approached me. And with him, he's only been with black women. So
Interesting.
he tells me he's like he's only been in two other serious relationships before me. So have I. When we first met, like we would just talk about it. It was like we would feel uncomfortable because, there's nothing to feel uncomfortable about. And he told me he was like, like because when he would go and be around her family and stuff, they were very accepting because he looked like them, and then they realized like, oh, he also could speak Spanish and like, whoa, and his mom was very accepting to that as well. So he never had that experience where don't bring no black girl into my house or don't bring no like you know what I mean? It was never like that. And that's what I love about him the most because I've dated Hispanic men who talk a lot of shit about black women and I cannot stand that because I'm a black woman. Your mom's a black woman.
Absolutely.
Why would you ever fix your mouth to say that? And it's just my best friends are black women. So really kind of like I hate when men do that, especially like Latin men.
Right.
Like it gives me like I don't know why you're saying this to me as if I'm supposed to feel good about it because I don't feel good. I don't feel like I'm
Mm,
more superior, you
right.
know? He does tell me though that it is different because he thought that like I was Puerto Rican, but I was like New York Puerto Rican that I didn't speak Spanish. Like when he met me, he started to get to know me. He was like, "Oh, you're really Puerto Rican," and I'm like, "Yeah, I was born over there. I was raised over there. Like like my grandparents are straight from Puerto Rico as well. Like this is not your typical Puerto Rican household. Like we're
You
very
were raised in
traditional."
PR.
Yes, until I was five or six. Yes.
That's why your Spanish is so well, and you speak so well in Spanish. Because
Yeah.
listen,
So
sidebar, there is I have like I said, I have cousins who are Puerto Rican. There is that stereotype of New
yeah,
Yorkers.
that we don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So so he like he was shocked by that because I listened to Spanish music, and
And
he's like,
salsa.
wow. Yeah, and he's like, wow. He was like that. He was like, that's really the difference with me. He says that you're just so in tune with your culture so much. Like he was like, I've never seen that.
You
And
had
then
that
like when I
cultural
met
context. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when I met his mom, she's traditional. She's not a traditional Dominican woman, she works, all that stuff, but they're very much Dominican as well. But you could tell when I look at his siblings and I look at him, they're very much New York raised. They were all born here, very much New York raised. So it's different from what I see, like they still, same food, everything, but their styles are different. The way they do certain things are different. Like, and I'm just like, wow, like and I'm like, and your parents are okay with this? Like they never like opposed to it at all. And I'm like, that's great, because they let you grow up here and experience, the New York life and New York culture, and they never once try to like take that away from you.
Right.
So,
Interesting.
it's interesting. It's
Yeah, it's
very
interesting.
interesting to say, to talk about.
I'm very happy for you that you're because you seem very happy with him.
Yeah,
And
I am.
you have a
He's awesome.
you have a certain glow that I've noticed over the past few months, if not longer, whether it's naturally on your own or with him, that I've noticed. I'm like, wow, like something is glowing. And even before the surgery, I could see the glow. So that's why when you text me about the depression you would have and you were going through, I said, damn, I guess she's going through stuff that it's hard for her that she's willing to reveal because when I see her sometimes I see a certain glow about her. That's why I took it seriously, what you told me way back when. But I asked you the question about your boyfriend because I didn't know if he was like I said, either Honduran or Dominican or Black American or West Indian. But I obviously I knew he was Black. And what I was leaning on to ask about that is, have you dating prior to him? Did you have a easier time being embraced physically by Black men versus Latino men or Hispanic men, or did it matter?
I definitely had an easier time being embraced by black men. I
Or
must say,
I don't want to use the word embrace too much because like we do recognize that people are just lustful and crazy and nasty.
yeah,
So that don't mean you embrace them,
yeah.
but just being approached, I guess.
Yeah, I've been approached more by black men. Yes. Um, and like like I said, when that doctor that I follow with relationships, like he says it like women who are thick, they typically attract more black men than Latin men, which makes sense from what I've seen growing up,
Right, right.
and but yes, mostly black men approached me, and in a way, I mean, I would kind of like go off and date like Spanish men, but I've noticed, especially like not really Puerto Rican men. I've only dated maybe two Puerto Ricans, but it never got so far. But with Dominican men, especially men that are straight from the island, I've noticed that they were just a little bit more lustful
From the island.
from yeah, and even though they say it in Spanish and it sounds beautiful, to me it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like certain things they will say, and that kind of made me pause a little bit on that, like dating Hispanic men because I felt like a little bit uncomfortable, especially like when I had met this guy years ago, really tall Dominican dude. I mean 6'11". This guy was tall,
Jesus.
and I thought like oh wow, this guy is it. Like I thought this was endgame. We bonded, we had a great time, and like he disappeared for like 2 weeks, and I'm like, what happened? And then one day he told me to come downstairs, and I'm talking to him in his car, and the question just popped into my head, like, are you married? He was just like, how did you know? And I'm like, because like I don't know why it just hit me. Like this man could be married. That's why he disappeared for 2 weeks. Because what explanation can you give me for disappearing after we went on a few dates already? And yeah, like he was married and it was, yeah, his papers and everything, which I understand. But like it was still kind of fishy because it's like,
Mm,
yeah, but you had to disappear for 2 weeks
yeah,
though. Like even if it's an agreement, come to find out in the long run that no, this was his wife.
his
Like
wife.
they were madly in love,
Oh my
like
God.
you know what I mean? So I'm like, that kind of scarred me a little bit. It scarred me a little bit because like when I met my boyfriend and I was talking to him, I didn't know he was Dominican at first until like 2 days later. I thought he was Guyanese. So or Trini. So I'm like, when he told me he was Dominican, I kind of went into a panic mode because like I can't do this anymore. Shout
This
out, no, don't
guy.
get me wrong. Yeah, like don't get me wrong. My best friend's Dominican. I love Dominicans. I love your culture. I
Yeah, yeah.
love
What
your
I'm
food,
saying.
music. But like the men just it scarred me. So I was just so scared. But he saw my face and he was like, I'm not your typical Dominican man. He was like, like he was like, I speak Spanish, I love the food, I love the music, but he was like, I'm not don't assume the worst of me yet,
I'm, I'm, I'm the archetype that you know of.
Yeah, so that's how like, that was just like the beginning of like me and my boyfriend. But I do say that I did approach this relationship differently than how I approached my last relationship.
Also,
I told myself that I want to give myself a year to get to know this guy because I feel like I know they say it takes a man 6 months to know what he wants or 3 months to actually be his girlfriend. Like, I just wanted to take my time because, I just been through so much that I just didn't want to like just dive into something so fast. I remember, I told him like, hey, and because I've heard, people talk, and I told him like, hey, if you're messing with anybody else or you're dating anybody else, just let me know. I don't want to be like left in the dark. I'm still trying to figure out what I want, if I want a serious relationship or not. And it's okay with me, but we can still be friends and get to know each other. And that's what we did. Like I would communicate with him like, hey, I'm going out, tonight. I can't really talk to you. And he'll be like, okay, cool. But, after a while, like I would talk to people here and there and it just didn't feel right, because I've always wanted to talk to him. And he kind of did the same thing. And he told me too, like, it just didn't feel right. Like, I only wanted to speak to you, and like, after that, we just spent so much time together and we just kept getting to know each other and just, but we never had that label yet. We never had that label yet. And I knew it was serious when like he met my parents and I met his mom and like we still didn't have a label. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this man still has to actually be his girlfriend, but maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe it's just like, but like I will have my friends tell me there's always a loophole. They will always sit there and tell you like, not my girlfriend, like I was worried that that would come up.
right,
And
right.
thank God it didn't. And we had went on our first trip together and then he had the chef bring out like a cake and it said, will you be my girlfriend? And he had
Uh,
told me like, like this is his first time even asking somebody to be his girlfriend. And he was
wow.
like, I felt like I needed to ask you. He was like, even though I know we were together already and we were always honest, he was like, I needed to ask you because he was like, this is the first time that I'm seeing things for the long haul. And like I felt good about that. And like people look at me like I'm crazy, like, are you crazy? He was going on dates with the girls. I'm like, we're still young, so we
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what we want. And I'm like,
Right.
and that's what I say about the dating scene, like just be honest because you just don't know what the other person's going through either. So when he would tell me like, hey, I'm going out tonight with a friend, I already knew like, okay, maybe he's going on a date. Go ahead, have fun, like tell me about it when you get back. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
we were still like in that friend zone, but we kind of started like getting more closer and we never had to question each other if we were still dating other people because we just knew that we weren't. We just knew that we were just, we were together, and I never had to like question him or, be crazy and be like, oh, who else you talking to? It was nothing like that. So he always made me feel secure with that. And also he was always honest with me. Like he told me about how his last relationships failed and I told him about my past and things that we tolerate, things we don't tolerate. And that's pretty much it. People think that, they see us and they think like, oh, you guys are the most perfect couple, but it's not like that. We have our issues. Every couple has their issues. Nobody's perfect, but we choose to communicate our feelings always.
Right.
Always. I always now I've learned that I can't hold things in. I have to talk about it. And then even if he doesn't feel like talking about it, he'll like we'll revisit it. Like we'll put a pause and then we'll talk about it tomorrow because we need like a fresh head, a fresh start.
Right.
But that's just how I how I approached it differently.
I respect the taking the time, the pause to really know for sure and to vet yourself and vet him and to vet the relationship to make sure that it's something of value and worthy or worthysome. Because a lot of people don't give each other time and grace to learn themselves. So I respect that for one. Two, I respect his patience and eventual intentionality, if that's even a word, his intention to be declarative and say, will you be my girlfriend? And to be open and say, yo, I haven't really done this before. I've never done this before. But to be vulnerable in that moment and say, no, I'm doing it now, though. I'm doing it with you.
Yeah.
That's big. That's big. Especially as a man who I can tell you, we have a disease as men of not talking and not expressing ourselves. So the fact that he can do that, kudos to him.
It's definitely a struggle for him because I know like he doesn't struggle. He's never had to like talk about his feelings or how he feel about certain things, and I respect that he's doing it for me because he knows that I'm very vocal and like he knows that I have to communicate to know so this could work.
Well, remember, Ev, remember, we pride men in being, leaders and strong people. But remember this, a lot of us men who were first young men and boys, we were taught early on, don't cry, I don't care what you're going through, don't
Hmm.
whine, don't complain. I don't want to hear what your problems, just do, just be, just act and be a man. And so we have a perception of what a man's supposed to be from young of like, yo, you can't really express yourself. You can't openly question things. You just have to like be a man, be an alpha, and all that bullshit. So a lot of us are now in our 20s and 30s, breaking generational curses where, mind you, not just men when we're young are telling us, we have women in our lives, mothers and grandmothers telling us this too, like, be a man, don't be a girl, be a man, or don't complain. So we have both genders, both people in our lives telling us how to act and basically to be a closed shell. So now we're trying to like break out that shell. And for some people, we're doing better than others. Like I have a group of guy friends where some of us we are doing better in our group chats, like expressing ourselves, what we're going through. But some of us are still closed off because we're still so fractured from what we were taught early on negatively that it's a work in progress. So I respect him for even just having you being comfortable with you to express himself. I also, as you were talking about how there came a point where you didn't want to be with anybody else, and him the same way. It brought back to me in 2012. In 2012, I was talking to my wife. Then we were talking for a few months. Same situation, you do your thing, if I do my thing. We connect when we connect. But I remember in February 2012. So picture you in kindergarten, whatever that was. Guess February. However, but
Was it high school?
okay. So like I remember in February 2012, I'm living in Harlem on the east side. Shout out to my east siders. I'm living in Harlem and an ex-girlfriend just had to come see me. Like, yo, I want to pull up on you. And at this time, I'm still talking to my wife. We don't become official till May. So it's
Hmm.
February. We're still talking stage. So I had an ex come reach out to me, like, yo, I want to come see you. I'll come to your apartment. And any other time of my life, I would have been like, yo, let me make
Pull
sure,
up.
pull up, brush my teeth. Pause, by the way. When we brush my teeth, the hair's not gone yet, like twice, take two showers. I would have been on point and I would have been enthusiastic about the moment. And I would have told everybody in my BBM chat, like, yo, it's about to go down. So and so's coming
Hmm.
through. But I remember this time around, I was like, "Hmm, okay. So I remember when she pulled up and she hung out in the living room with me. We were watching the Knicks game. And one, I was more focused on the game than her. And two, I was saying to myself, wow, like any other time prior, my heart would have been like pumping with adrenaline and a rush. And I would have been like, I'd be fumbling
Right.
ready to go, fumbling my words over her. I would have been like, disheveled. But now I was like in my head, like, man, you have to be here right now. You can go. And
Right.
I was like, I wonder what Kia is doing. That's what I kept saying to myself. I wonder what Kia is doing. I wonder what she's up
Yeah.
to. And
Yeah.
well, but so basically, that's
No,
where I
sorry.
was. That's where I was. I was like, I wonder what she's doing. And I said to myself, I was saying to myself, this is wasted time because
Yeah.
you don't have to be here right now, where I could be somewhere else myself. You know what I'm saying? So, a few more instances like that, and by May, I felt that on her end, and I was like, all right, like she had a similar situation, and it alerted me to say, you know what, I gotta like be intentional and do my cake moment and lock it down. And that's
Yeah,
what, and that's
that was kind of like with me. I had my own place at the time, and I noticed like I wouldn't let anybody really stay with me or stay over, and I would just let him. Like he was literally the only one. And I'm like, wow, like I'm really like I don't know what it is with you, but like it feels good when you're here, you
right,
know? And
right.
I'm up cooking, breakfast, full blown breakfast, and I'm like, what is happening to me right now? Like so it definitely when that happens, when you hit that point, it's like, wow, like okay, now I have to move with intent and show this person like I'm in this for real. Like this is not a game to me anymore.
I'm glad you said that with the whole cooking thing because it makes me realize when it comes to health, biology and health, the body doesn't lie to you. If something's wrong with you, usually the body's telling you in some shape or form. But when it comes to like love, usually the mind doesn't lie to you. So it's like
Hmm.
if you're feeling something and you're thinking about someone constantly, there's a reason for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
like stop avoiding it, confront it, is what I would say. So I'm glad that you guys confronted that and he was able to be intentional and
Yeah.
make his declaration for you. I wanted to mention something earlier. I'm still stricken by your boat party and the incident you went through, and it made me think about something that I went through one time. If I could share with you, I remember one time I was at a job site at a workplace, and a colleague, a former colleague, was talking to me and like very aggressively, very lustfully, pre-marriage, and I was like, okay, like there's a thing about guys where we're kind of taught early on, like, yo, if a woman's hollering at you, just hear her out because you don't get that many chances for a woman to just come be that forward with you.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to her, or whatever, and she grabbed me
Mm.
at the
Hmm.
at a public place, at a work site, and I was just like, yo, first of all, chill, and then a second of all, I was like, man, this is violation. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
is.
I'm not going to HR or anything, but if I could, that's your ass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, but at the same time, what if I do that? Some dudes would be like, "Yo, you wilding," or there's that patriarchy male thing too, where it's like, you bugging, you should just take it from anybody, especially if you're a big dude. Like why say no? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I be trying to, especially to like my other friends who are thick, or I be trying to tell other thick women, don't accept those kind of advances. Just because they say that about you or whatever, they're being so like lustful. Know the difference between somebody like liking you and then having a fetish. Because I bumped into a lot of guys that do have fetishes, and it's uncomfortable. It is super uncomfortable, and like you don't have to settle for any of that. Like you shouldn't be like thankful, like, oh look how this guy's talking to me or touching me right now. Like no.
Right,
No, no, no.
right, and
That's one thing I cannot stand.
right. And what's crazy? I feel like fetishizing big people, it's not even strictly a romantic thing. Like I've seen friendships where it's like, yo, you don't really appreciate me thoroughly like you should because you look at me as someone as the big friend who will always be there. You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah, no.
like you don't think I have a life. You don't think I have a life of my own. You know what I mean? To be
Yeah, exactly.
so I don't know. But anyway, I'm so thankful you did this. I think you
You're
were
welcome.
I think you were so open and so vulnerable and so funny, by the way. You made me laugh. What'd you say earlier? Like what'd you say? When you said he was bald, you said I felt so
Yeah, this is too mature,
too much.
you
I
know?
love the word mature. This is too mature. Oh my God. Yeah, that's gonna stay with me. That's hilarious. That's a joke. You should write that down as a joke. But yeah, I enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. I loved it.
Hopefully in the future, me, you, and Celia do something. So
Yes.
real quick, one last question. You've mentioned your grandparents so much. Why has it been, or it seems that your grandparents have been the most there for you? And what's your relationship, if any, with your mom or your
And my dad.
parents? Yeah.
My relationship with my mom and my dad were good. They had me young, and my mom was struggling, like my mom and my dad, they broke up. and my dad had his apartment, my mom had her apartment, but my mom was just struggling a little bit, like, because one of her uncles, he's not really a good person, like, tried to take that apartment from her when her
Really?
grandma passed it down to her.
Mm,
It was like a big thing. So she lived with my grandma for a little while here.
mhm.
And my grandparents just told them, like, I was the first grandbaby. And yeah, and these are my dad's parents, by the way. These are not my mom's parents. These are my dad's parents.
Okay.
My mom's mom died in the fire when my mom was like 6 months old.
Man,
So
I'm sorry to hear that.
I've only met, thank you. I've only met my grandmother. Her grandmother raised her, but
Wow.
she's not here anymore either. But my grandparents just wanted me to be in a two-parent household.
Right.
So they just like, hey, we don't need to go through the courts. We don't need to do anything. You can see your daughter whenever you feel like it, but we just want her here so it could just be a little bit more stable. You guys could like kind of get it together a little bit. And
Right.
that's how it was. Every weekend I was with my mom, and then some weekends I was with my dad. And that's just how it's always been. My grandparents are my parents, though. They did raise me. I do have a lot of their traits, and I owe them everything. Like
Mhm,
they give me absolutely everything. Like when I had moved back out, when I moved out of my apartment, I was there for 2 years. I had moved back out, not for any like particular reason. They was just selling the house. I lived like in a townhouse,
mhm, mhm,
and they were just selling it. So I just decided like, hey, I'm just gonna go back home, and they brought me back in with open arms. And
mm.
they always tell me I always have a home here, and that's just how it's always been. It's always just been me and my grandparents. Now, me and my mom were still very close. That's my best friend. Me and my dad were a little bit estranged, but just how like I I just want to say like with my dad, he has a wife, and she's from DR, so he's just more focused on her, which it's
Mhm,
fine.
mhm,
Like I not gonna like dwell too much. I don't really need you anymore. That's how I feel with my dad, but I do need my grandparents and I need my mom. For every single thing, I'm still like that girl that I need my grandparents always. So that's just how it was. It was just them just stepping up and helping my parents out, raising me.
I want to say before I go that I'm thankful for your grandparents, that they did a great job with you.
Thank you.
They really did a great job. I find you to be a very charismatic, wonderful young lady. I find you to be straight shooter, a sharpshooter, but also you have this kind of like way about you that you're easy to talk to, and you're easy to listen to too. You have a great way with words, and like I said, I think you're going places, and
Thank you.
I'm grateful that at this point in your life you seem to be more comfortable with yourself and have a lot more confidence because I want you to know that listen, you have nothing to worry about or fear.
Thank you.
I think life's gonna keep blessing you, as long as you accept those blessings. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Right.
And I want you to continue to block those demons, those non voice that you've had. I've had it too. We've all had it. That's a trap. That's the devil. I'm not a man of strong faith per se, or religion. Not really. But I do believe that in some shape or form, a devil is real,
Thank
whether it's self-inflicted or otherwise. And you have to resist the devil. You know what I'm saying?
you. Right.
Because he or she is out to destroy you or at least stop you from you getting yours. And I look at you right now, whether it's you and your boyfriend, or you as an independent woman, you as a scholar graduating soon, you're getting yours. You're getting yours.
Thank you.
And I'm proud of you. So
Thank you. Thank you.
on that note, I thank you so much for doing this.
Of course, Mike.
I'm
Love you
so
so much.
Yes, I love you too. And keep your when we end this, keep your tablet on with the app so it can fully upload your audio.
No
But
problem.
I'm thankful for this. Until next time.
Until next
Until
time.
next time. Thank you. I'll see you later, Mama.
Okay. Bye.
All right.